All right. Fantastic. Let's see. Got a few people coming on. We're a little late, fashionably late, as always. So one thing I guess you have gotten comfortable with. Always a little couple of minutes late. So as people begin to trickle in, see that we're live running 20 minutes late, it's about the average. Um, Better late than never. Thank you. Yeah, so we had to do a live since we noticed some of the stories that we have been putting out lately having to do with the city, major news coming out from the city of Eagle Pass. We saw that in the last meeting, the city council meeting that they had on Tuesday, we had Assistant City Manager Ivan Marua announce that the city of Eagle Pass had taken a significant loss with their 57 South Music Festival that has been in the news lately. Some sort of a controversy that we're going to dig into a little bit right now. I want to take a moment, just a couple of seconds, real quick, guys. I appreciate you jumping on. Please like this live stream. That helps get and spread this word, and if you can share it. And real quick, I just want you guys to. Hey, we got some people trickling in comments. You know, we live for the comments here, guys. Better late than never. Of course, we're here. Paco, good evening. How's it going? And Lupio, ever about making a profit or was just about having fun? That's a good question, Lupio, and I think that that's the first. That's one of the questions we would dive into. I don't know if it's the first one, but I mean, it's definitely a good question and pretty solid. Guys, as everybody knows, or if you don't know already, we were announcing right now the city of Eagle Pass announced through the assistant city manager during one of the city council meetings that took place this past Tuesday. The city of Eagle Pass lost $2.35 million with the festival, the 57 South Music Festival. And there's a lot of news coming out about the festival. Now, there was a large demand, for questions, especially when we put out the news of the 2.35 million. Now, one thing I do want to say and thank the city council about was the fact that they came out and let us know publicly what the loss was. So that was one thing that we should, be very appreciative of some of our elected officials that were willing to share that information with us, because that's not some information that, most people would be happy to share with, especially being the situation that you took a big loss with this event. Now, again, Lupio mentioned Navejas, a good point. Was this event ever about making profits, or was it, to put on an event for the community? And I think that that is a very valid point. As part of whatever entity or wherever you live, and it's not something out of the ordinary for the community, the county, the city, or other public entities within a community to put on certain events. Usually they're not at this large of a scale. It was a pretty big scale, but again, it was a big project that was a big event that we had, the eclipse. So it's not every day that we get an eclipse. And I do want to tell everybody out there, if you're drinking your choice of beer, cheers. And thank you for joining us. So, getting back to the topic, you have the city that kind of went out and did this event for an eclipse, a not an event that everybody gets to see. So it was a good The intentions were good. I think everybody can explain that now, or can feel the same sentiment, as that it was a thing that was intended to be good of nature. We saw recently an interview with one of the city councilwomen, Monica Cruz, where she was with another media outlet, news source, and she did mention that there was a committee involved with some part of the decision making. Now, one of the things I wanted to clarify from the knowledge that I know, and how this process typically goes, I wanted to share that with you guys, um, and also wanted to bring up what has been said and what's the situation, and how it can play out. Now, one of the big things that I do want to go ahead and dispel right now, I know one of the other news medias put there that the taxpayers will have to pay this 2.35 million. Okay. um, a lot of people have been suckered into the fear mongering that some news medias tend to do, and it's not anything, I guess, evil, but news medias tend to exaggerate a little bit. Now, no one's gonna, the city's not gonna run to the tax office and higher up your tax rate and max it out. That's not the situation. A lot of people don't understand the uniqueness of the city of Eagle Pass, of where we live, being that it's a border community. Now, what is lost a lot on the residents of the city of Eagle Pass is that about the last time I remember, guys, it was around 40 something percent. It could be around 50 now, but anywhere from 40 to 50% of the city's budget actually comes from the International Bridges, which is a franchise business that the city owns. Now, the city does own that, but the city is owned by us, the residents that live in the city. So I understand that part of it. But one of the things that the kind of the other news was that this was going to make an immediate impact on the resident. Now, typically when situations like these arise, the city should foresee any kind of situation or have a contingency type of plan where, yes, they ventured out to do this event, but there is people that project these types of things within the city that see, hey, look, whether we get this amount of interest, whether we have this loss, this gain, there is some mechanism or funding in place. Now, the city has had very wealthy reserves over the past several years, due to the administration that has gone on there. Whether it may not seem like it at this point, right? But the city does have a very good financial situation. So the loss, it's not a thing that you're going to feel that, hey, this next tax, that your tax, whenever we have to pay our taxes, it's not going to show up in your bills and your tax receipts. Hold up, not that quickly. All right, guys. Again, most of the city budget is 40 to 50%. It comes from the International Bridges, which is set up as a business franchise that the city of Eagle Pass has had for years and years. Okay. So that is apart from property taxes, which the city collects to do normal operations. Now, this is not by any means a normal operation. We do have another comment that came in, and Puerto Verde will cut into the profit. Manny Manford, this is the tough concern, and this is the concern that we're seeing from all the residents, is who has to pay it back. Now, in a sense, Yes, you do, but also you don't, which, and I say you don't because you're not going to feel an immediate impact on that. And when I say immediate, it's not going to come within a year or two or anything. Again, the city does have healthy finances that will probably blanket the majority of this loss. So even though it is a concern that they had a significant loss, there is mechanisms in place. Um, One good point that Paco, a little bit off topic here, is bringing up about the Puerto Verde and the possibility of it affecting the bridge, the city's international bridge. I think you're right about that, Paco. It is only common sense that, again, 40 to 50% of the budget for the city is comes from the international bridges. Now, I want to say a good estimate, maybe 60 to 70% of the funds that come from the bridge are due to commercial traffic. Now, residential traffic is good for us, but a high number of that traffic, again, is commercial traffic that is starting to come through our community. So, that commercial traffic, again, to avoid the city traffic, the commercial traffic potentially can move out to the what Paco Jr. is talking about, the Puerto Verde, the proposed new bridge for commercial crossing, has the potential to affect the city. Now, I don't know, I can't comment as to how much the impact will be. I do know that if you take the commercial traffic away from the city bridge revenue, there will be it will be felt by them. Again, I think it's somewhere from 60 to 70% of their revenue is, and I hope I got that right, City of Eagle Pass. Um, Around 60 to 70% comes from commercial. So yes, they will be hurting if, especially if the commercial traffic comes over and diverts into what is the proposed Puerto Verde World Trade Bridge, I believe it's called, the Puerto Verde Global Trade Bridge, that is going just right by where the overpass is headed to Seco Mines, guys. I know you see there's the stripes there headed towards Las Minas. For those of you not aware, I guess maybe Del Rio area headed down Del Rio Boulevard. Once you get over there, you'll see the little creeks spread to the side, passing the stripes. So that is actually where the proposed area is at. Correct. Yeah. If the Puerto Verde were to open, there is a possibility that the commercial traffic won't be there for the city. And again, we're talking about 60 to 70% commercial traffic that makes up the international bridge revenues from the city. So yeah, of course, that's going to be something difficult. But keeping focus with the task at hand, the 2.35 million that was a loss for the city comes because of the event that was put on. Now there is a lot of controversy with the event because it was scheduled to have gone on in Shelby Park. Now Shelby Park was a designated area that we typically do have these big celebrations at. Now the reason we weren't able to have the celebration at Shelby Park was because of Governor Greg Abbott's seizure of the Shelby Park area. So all that area was off limits, and the city of Eagle Pass was left having to find an alternative area to have this event, ultimately turning to the Kickapoo Lucky Eagle Casino venue and striking some kind of negotiation with them. We're not sure what that was. The only figures that we do have is what was reported in the loss, the significant loss of the 2.35 million. So now in the interview, as we were talking before we got a little sidetracked, we had Councilwoman Monica Cruz come out in an interview with a local news media stating that there was a committee involved with all the action that overseed what was being conducted with the 57 South Music Festival. Now, we saw, and a lot of people are getting confused. Excuse me, I'll come back to that question right now. Um, we'll post it right here and we'll talk about that. So you have the 2.35 million. You have the councilwoman Monica Cruz letting us know that there was a committee that was, I guess you, if you want to call it a steering committee. I know we had commented earlier on one of the articles that we had, and we called it an oversight committee, which was incorrect. It's more than anything, it's a type of a steering committee, which I will dive into the process, moving into that, segueing into it actually. So the typical process, whenever you have any type of professional service, which this was, you're considered engineering, promotion, anything that is not necessarily construction or something that's not tangible. That's why it's called a professional service, right? Um, so whenever that happens, that you have a whenever you have the professional service, the way the professional service is handled, you go out for solicitations, you ask them to bring in proposals, submit proposals, right? Again, this is with engineering, this is with attorneys. There's certain ways that the professional services are handled. These professional services, again, are handled not based on the lowest bid or the lowest price. Rather, they are actually handled by qualifications, right? So, how are they qualified? So, whenever you put out the request for proposals, or request for proposals is usually what it's called. You send that out, and you have a criteria there that you let them know what you're going to be grading them on, right? So they're building their proposals based on the criteria that you provide for them in the RFP, request for proposals. So it's pretty much you're telling them what you need, and they're preparing their expertise. Because again, guys, it is not based, professional services are not bid out based on the lowest bid. They are based on most qualified to do the job, and then administration goes into negotiations with that most qualified firm. If negotiations or a price cannot be reached with that qualified firm, then it drops down to the second highest qualified firm, where then the negotiations can begin with them. So in this case, you had an RFP that was distributed. People were allowed to submit responses, right, to that proposal, to RFPs. So this is where one of the controversies, or kind of the miscommunication, or we don't know what's happening with it, is that we had other promoters, step up in one of the city council meetings and say that they submitted a proposal to promote the 57 South Music Festival. Okay? You had other promoters saying that. I believe it was two other promoters. So of those two promoters, one was chosen, although the other promoters weren't allowed, or did not participate, or were never graded. So ultimately, it was only one promoter or one promotion company that was available, or that had submitted a bid. Now, that's the whole controversy in itself. So why weren't these other promoters allowed? Were their proposals, did they not fit the qualifications? Then did they not fit the minimum need the request for proposals was asking for? Now, as long as it was sent within the time frame, it should have been reviewed by the committee. Now, this committee is the same committee that was mentioned by Councilwoman Monica Cruz. So there is this committee that is actually participating in the grading or the qualifying of each of these companies. But again, we get to the point where, or we get to the controversy where there was only one promotional company, even though there was others that stated that they submitted a bid as well, or a proposal to promote the 57 South Music Festival. Moving forward, if you see the situation from an outside view, the city's receipts have been received. They are reviewed by a committee. Now, this is the committee that we are interested in knowing who's involved, what committee, what employees were involved in this committee, how were they selected to participate in this committee, and what decisions were taken by these committees. Typically, guys, I've been a part of some of these committees in my time with the city. We would, in engineering or architecture firms, for the gymnasium. Good example. For the gymnasium, the Cruz Munoz Gymnasium, we had to, ask for requests for proposals for the design of a gymnasium facility. Much like the promoter, that's exactly the same thing you do. Now, I was part of who we graded different applicants or different proposals, and we went with the one that we thought was the most qualified to do the job. Now, you typically have five, six, different employees or representatives doing these. Usually, it's typically people from within the city. We hear that they were directors that were the ones actually grading the proposals for the promoter. So you had, I believe it's called Just One Management LLC, if I'm not mistaken, were the ones that submitted a proposal, and there were other promoters that were upset that they weren't allowed to participate in that process, the qualifying process. So once one company or one just company management was selected by this committee, they were allowed to proceed forward. Now, the controversy comes that from there, what action was taken? Now, we've been hearing a lot of different information, and we've been trying to secure the names of these employees that participated in this committee and how involved was this committee in making decisions. We do have the city council coming out and approving a forensic audit for through a third party that is going to come and audit the procurement process that was followed for the 57 South Music Festival. Now, we had Monica Cruz. We overheard her interview with a local media. Again, we're referring back to those interviews where she mentions the possibility of some wrongdoing, or there may be a process moving forward that if some state procurement laws may have been circumvented or not followed as they were supposed to be, there could be criminal investigative charges or criminal investigations taking place. Now, I'm not sure if it will go that far. Now, that's always a possibility, guys, but right now, I think the main thing is focusing on whether everything was done correctly from the procurement process standpoint. Now, the biggest misconception, and we confirmed this today, was that entering city manager Homero Valderas was the one who dismissed longtime finance director Jesse Rodriguez. Unfortunately, that was not the case, and we did update our articles, and we apologize for that misinformation. That we thought that that's how it transpired, but It did not. It was actually the assistant city manager, Ivan Murua, who dismissed the finance director. Now, if you follow the timeline of whenever the situation was going on and they were looking into the finances of or the procurement process and what was followed and what contracts, if there were any contracts in place with this company, something happened that triggered the assistant city manager, Ivan Morua, to get rid of the finance director. Now, let me tell you something that a lot of people do not understand when it comes to city finance, county finance, any type of public entity finance. Whenever there is a document that is a contract, is uh, a grant, for instance, for an example, or a contract with another entity, a contract with a public entity for services. Typically, you will have your chief executive officer, which in this case would be a city manager, an assistant city manager, an interim city manager, but you also have the finance director. So he is the chief financial officer, the one who is in charge of safeguarding the city's finances. So, again, taking a step back and viewing the timeline of how everything transpired, you had something that was discovered whenever all the commotion was going on at the city council. It got to a point, guys, where the event almost got canceled. Now, I have sources telling us that the city of Eagle Pass could have saved half of that loss had they have canceled the event. Now, let me take this time real quick, guys, because we got a pretty good crowd on there out here. We'll take this time as our quick break from a message sponsor down here in the ticker. Let us know in the comments, guys, how do you feel about the possibility coming up in city council and uh, in the city council meeting, the possibility of canceling the 57 South Music Festival was brought up. I believe it was actually even voted for, but eventually it was said, you know what, we're going to go ahead and proceed. They proceed. Now, I have an inside source that is telling me that the city of Eagle Pass could have avoided the 2.35 million loss up to 50% of that. So you're talking about $1 million could have been avoided being lost as a part of this 2.35 million had they already canceled. Now, real quick, guys, let me know in the comments, guys. Let's see who's brave enough to drop. Now, what would you have done if you're a city councilman, a city councilwoman? You're presented with, all this controversy. Something doesn't look right. Now, I'm not saying there was something wrong because I do not know that yet. That's what we're trying to discover. But there was a lot of controversy as this event was about to kick off. Again, it was almost canceled, guys. It was to the point where it was almost voted on. It was voted on. Unfortunately, it did not have the votes to be canceled. Now, 50% of it could have been saved. 2.35 million. So you're talking about over a million could have been saved from loss had it gone canceled. What if you would have done as a city councilman or woman? We'll go ahead and take see if anybody is interested in answering that question. We'll dive back into it. Let's take some of these comments in. Mr. Reese, you work for the city of Del Rio. Are city politics the same as they were in Eagle Pass, or is everything swept under the rug? Honestly, uh, the year I was there in the city of Del Rio, it people over there are a little bit different than the people are here. You do have a more mixture of culture and different race over there. Now, the difference was is that Del Rio's more federalized, so they have different. The FBI is there, DEA. They have different stations out there. You have also the airport. I'm sorry, the Air Force Base out there. So you have different cultures, you have different races, and I feel that people were a little bit nicer out there. And the majority of us here now, Eagle Pass is starting to change. Eagle Pass is starting to trend a little bit more to how Del Rio is, with all the federal agencies and state agencies are starting to build infrastructure here in Eagle Pass with the situation that's going on. And we're seeing that with the military base that's being built here locally in Maverick County, Eagle Pass. So we're going to be seeing more of that. But before us growing up, we were predominantly, Hispanic. That's not saying anything here or there. Politics is politics. I know there is politics there. During my time there, I did not see. I saw Maverick County politics can go a little bit farther, and city politics can push the needle a little bit more than the city of Del Rio did. But absolutely, it's a totally different atmosphere. I'm not saying that Eagle Pass is bad by any means, but you do feel the difference whenever you stay a little bit different, prolonged time in each of the communities. It's a different. It's just a different feeling. Anybody that has spent time in both communities, I think you can agree with me. And again, that's not saying Eagle Pass people are bad, Del Rio people are good, or vice versa. I enjoy Eagle Pass very much, and I enjoy Del Rio very much. It was great. I actually spent Easter last year there, and in the park, and it was great because it was something different. The demographics are different as far as what we have is infrastructure, but guys, it wasn't too long ago that Del Rio was the bigger city, and now Eagle Pass has totally turned that on its head. And Eagle Pass is the little giant in the border that's gonna be possibly blowing up very soon. Let me skip on, but I hope I answered your question, Thomas Garrett. Paco, this next comment. Even if it wasn't takeover, people had still hard straight towards the free event in Mexico. Now, I will comment on what Paco is saying is that now there was a $2.35 million loss, but we do not know from the city, the entity, but we do not know what the gain was community wide. So that's one thing to also take a look at. And I think that is something that needs to be taken into consideration because of the cost benefit analysis of it. Of course, I don't think anybody will be complaining if the city lost 2.35 million, yet small businesses and hotels and private businesses, as long as they made 5 million out of the deal, or maybe the 4 million back, the 2.35 million that was lost, maybe if it was made through the small businesses in the community, that should offset that loss. Unfortunately, we don't have that recorded and readily available. I don't think the city does either, because that would have been something that would have been a great story to say, to offset the loss that the city lost. Because that ultimately what the community benefits from putting on this event, which we do know some hotels were booked, maybe not to full capacity, but there was that, and there was a lot of restaurants that received an increase while people were in here. And of course, the casino did receive a big boost of attendance as well. So looking at it, big picture, that's what needs to be seen. The big thing here that people need to stay focused also was that funding and money used the correct way and to the limits of the Texas state law. Now, let's go next comment, Mel Sanchez. Let's not blame the Shelby Park. It's always the same thing with AP. People will go to a festival regardless, but they had things against the weather. Outsiders did not show up as expected. The bands started the festival at 4 p.m. Hometown band who started. The city lost. Okay. And yeah, I understand. I don't blame Governor Abbott for doing what he did in securing our border, because unfortunately the federal government has not done the job that they're supposed to do in securing our border. Um, People will blame Greg Abbott about it, Governor Greg Abbott, for shutting down Shelby Park. But had that situation been under control, we would have never, the state would have never had to shut down Shelby Park. So unfortunately, that is what happened, and I believe the city of Eagle Pass is looking into some kind of remedy with the state of Texas and possibly seeking some kind of reimbursement for the loss after, again, the Shelby Park was seized by the state and now occupied by the national Texas State National Guard. Let's see. Paco Jr., many, it's not all cities had events for free. That does happen at times. The reason I will say probably the city knew the investment that this event was going to make, and they wanted to offset again the investment that they were going to make. Now, I don't know where the city funding came down. Okay, now I'm getting a notification here. Now we're not gonna review our sources, but it's one just management was the one who received the bid, and I'm hearing that company is tied to a family with the last name Minton. Um, Two brothers Minton. I am not aware of who, but we wanted to clarify that up, and we'll be checking that out as well. But we did receive a news notification through one of our sources. Again, guys, we're available on WhatsApp. WhatsApp, you can send us a message, send us a tip, 830-968-0344. I'm going to type that out for y'all down here. If you guys have any insight of what happened, or just like right now that we received a tip through WhatsApp, letting us know that the company that was involved or that was awarded the bid was One Management, just One Management LLC, and it was owned by the owners are Mintons. Their last name Minton. We'll see if we can get that first names for you guys as we're discovering this on the fly with you all. Let's see. We have another comment. I think they should just have known since the beginning that there wasn't going to be a profit on the event. That is a possibility. Now, again, one of the things that needs to be taken into consideration is that how much did the community, everybody else, small businesses, the hotels, how much did everybody else benefit in the community? That may be the selling point on this, if you will. But again, without those numbers, it's really hard for us as the community to kind of comment on, hey, it was worth it, or the juice was worth the squeeze, or it wasn't. Another comment. To begin with, I think the singers are not singers. These things are a lot of people, border towns, lucky border towns. Could be. Very different atmosphere in Del Rio than Eagle Pass. Yes, yes. I think we can agree to that. again, but I love my Eagle Pass. Everybody knows uh, I love Eagle Pass here. At the time, let's see. So, latest comment at the time, we didn't know that the concert was going to be a bust and go on and hope for the best. Okay. Music Fest and the city learned. And yes, I would have voted to continue. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate you answering the question. Let's see. Oh, wow. We got a lot more comments coming in, guys. Sorry, we're a little bit behind on the comments. We were kind of commenting about the process. If you have any questions about the process, guys, well, we're trying to find out again. We're getting to the what we're trying to get to the bottom of is that who are the committee members? Because we're interested in one, what decisions were taken by this committee? Two, who had controls of this committee? Now, if we were to speculate who had control of this committee, financial control, we would assume, this is not any news, this is again speculation, that it was the finance director that was dismissed. Because, guys, they don't get rid of you because you're doing an awesome job. They just do not. So something happened that the assistant city manager was forced to act to fire the finance director. Guys, now, mind you, these are two individuals that grew up with the city of Eagle Pass almost, they had almost about the same time with the city of Eagle Pass together. And they've spent many years at the top echelon of management. So it must have been a difficult decision for the assistant city manager, Ivan Murua, to get rid of, dismiss, relieve of his duties, longtime finance director Jesse Rodriguez. So, guys, that wasn't just anything. Something had to have happened or was discovered in the process and was addressed by the assistant city manager Ivan Murua. Now, I was not aware of this, but at the time when it was addressed by assistant city manager Ivan Murua, current city manager Homero Valderas was still in negotiation. So he actually had nothing to do with the dismissal of Jesse Rodriguez. That is fully credited to Assistant City Manager Ivan Morua. Now, from looking at the outside in on this, it seems that a head did roll for something that happened within the city, and a finance director, he's the number two there in the city, guys. That's the number two. He's number two after the city manager because he's the CFO, the chief financial officer for the city. So he lost his job. Something happened for him to lose his job. Now, he was part of this committee that we keep on hearing about, and we would like to know who else was involved in this committee, what decisions were taken by this committee, and how much power did this committee really have. Lando Fortis, it would have been worse if they did it at Shelby Park. You see, and that's a different take, Fortis. I think you're the first one that has mentioned that it would have been worse at Shelby Park. Now, typically, Shelby Park does draw pretty big crowds whenever they do have the Noches Mexicanas and all that. But again, we weren't able to use that. But I, what would have been funny is if we would have had the Shelby Park the 57 Music Festival going on, full border crisis, having people literally coming over the river and joining, having a beer with us there. That would have been a scene. Had Governor Abbott not stepped in and seized the park. Ms. Teresa Elena Gonzalez, Biden is the one who has open borders and letting all the narcos in. It's a disgrace. And guys, I mean, that is the truth. The federal government is not taking care of securing the border. This is the reason that Governor Abbott seized Shelby Park, which was one of the highest or hottest spots for illegal border trafficking or human trafficking. Let's see. We're going back to Mel Sanchez. We would have not been on the eyes of outsiders had this controversy not taken place. Again, unless they had all this planned before. My apologies. Uh, Fortis, the only thing is they had to pay rent to the casino, but people from the casino were attracted to the festival. Hmm. I wonder what that rent was. Now, in the breakdown that we shared with you guys, I did not notice, correct me if I'm wrong, any payment going to or any amount showing to the Eagle Pass Casino. Now, I wonder if that was the other's expense that was over $1 million, just over $1 million. That might have been the rental fee that the city ultimately had to pay. Guys, again, we posted the number. If you have WhatsApp, you haven't used tip, you can send it to us, or have a comment that you don't want to comment, publicly, or you don't want people to see from your Facebook or your YouTube or your Twitter, however you're watching us. Again, we're streaming live from you from two different Facebook accounts, two YouTube accounts, our Twitch, and two Twitter accounts, guys. So there is no excuse for you not to get informed of the situation that is currently unfolding here in our community. True. That's why everything should have been taken into account. Okay. So getting into, let me see. Look, we even got some spams here. All right. No spam. Guys, let's see. So real quick, as we empty the ticker, guys, it's difficult. It's a difficult pill to swallow. So you have a situation where 2.35 million was lost in this venture, right? We have mixed feelings coming in. Some people are pro; they like the situation. They like that the city went out and did something. That's great. Your opinion. Other people think that the city should have never been involved in this type of venture. Again, I'll ask if anybody wants to post in the comments. Do you think that the city of Eagle Pass or any other public entity, for that matter, should continue trying to participate in coordinating these types of events for the communities, or should they leave these types of events for other promoters or at the promoter's cost rather than having the public entity out there? Moving back, again, we have been trying to investigate who are the members of this committee that were taken into, that were part of grading and approving or recommending this company for approval to city council. Um, how many times did they go to city council? I think that was the issue. One of the issues with this situation was that many of the things and decisions that may have been done by the committee or by a handful of people there at the city, uh, a lot a lot of the decisions that were made were not given or reverted back to city council. And as you can see, that could cause some type of turmoil because it violates the structure of how the city manager, city council, governing body structure is supposed to work by the home charter. Again, the home charter rule that the city of Eagle Pass is under allows for a city council, which is the governing body, to address the city or make policies for the city that are then implemented by their elected or their hired, appointed city manager, which is essentially a CEO, chief executive officer for the city. Now, in this case, again, the situation, and people have been throwing blame wherever it can stick. And I think it's a little bit premature to be dishing out blame at this point. Don't get me wrong, there is blame to be given, but it is a little bit early to point at, administration. It's too early to point at city council men. It's too early to point, at the promoters, because we don't know exactly what decisions were taken and who made the decisions that ultimately shaped the the results of the $2.35 million loss by the city trying to venture out into this promotional space. Now, the hiring of this management company was, it's going to be interesting. We will be requesting the documentation if other news media doesn't come out and beat us to it. One thing that we do know for sure, that something was done wrong, and it's apparent and obvious with the firing of the finance director. Now, again, typically whenever a finance director is, dismissed like that abruptly, was because some type of financial transaction occurred that was not by the city rules, city policy, city procurement policy, state policy. That is typically the reasons why finance directors are dismissed, especially if they're not given charges right away. Because we've seen finance directors in the past, dip their hands into the city funds, right? And as soon as something is found out about that, they are dismissed and charges are pursued, because that is, again, theft against the public's funding, and the public trusts these entities to uphold and secure their funding, their hard-earned tax dollars, right? So, guys, wrapping up this discussion here in a little bit, how does everybody in the community feel now? Is it still to blame where we need to address administration? Is it, city council members that weren't able to pull the trigger on canceling this? Again, we have received word that possibly up to 50%, a little over $1 million, could have been saved had they not have gone through with the festival. So that's a difficult pill to swallow. I know that nobody likes to lose money, especially not a substantial amount of money that, everybody feels that this is our money because it's a city entity that ultimately ended up losing these funds. But big picture is that we will be investigating into how we can quantify. Joe, thank you. We kind of explained everything already about the situation. You may need to go back and view a little bit. But if you have any questions about how this loss affects or impacts anybody, we did go over how in the immediate it will not affect anybody's taxes. You're not going to go next year and your taxes are not going to be, grotesquely raised out of the norm, anything like that. The city typically has some kind of mechanism in place where it's allowed to offset this loss. Now, again, year after year, the city does have savings in positions that weren't hired and budget that wasn't used. And I imagine that some of that funding that is saved or not utilized during the fiscal year will also be used to offset this loss. Now, again, a lot of gripes can come in and are legitimate, that, that's $2 million that we may have been that could have been invested elsewhere. Okay. So Fortis is helping us out here, saying that Monica said it's the best. It's one or the other management fee or the services for promotional company. Okay. And guys, just to let you know, we have reached out to Councilwoman Monica Cruz, and we'll be having some type of interview, possibly a podcast, where she joins in and lets us know from her perspective how these things shaped up, how the process turned out, and how she feels as the councilwoman, uh, how the results of this venture by the city of Eagle Pass. Now, again, going back to the situation where the city used these funds and invested the funds to try and go out and capture, you know, some kind of enjoyment for the community. So I believe the ticket sales, for those not familiar, not weren't able to see the figures coming out. So we got just one management, guys. We have a correction. It was just one management that was given the bid. So with just one management, if I'm right here, their expenses. So they got a management fee, 146,285. Talent cost 1,228,860. So you got 1.2 million was spent on talent. 146,000 was the management fee. Marketing, 121,000 was spent on marketing, and then you have something that says services that is also 1 million. So you have the contract expenses of just one management broken down, and it equals to 2.497. Okay, guys, 2.4 million, just right under 2.5 million. And then you have city expenditures, which includes overtime 82,000, fuel 4,000, equipment rentals 78,000, materials 1,500, and you have the shuttles for total 169,000. So the total of expenses for the 57 South Music Festival ended up being 2.66 million. Okay, now this is the revenues. Now, I think the revenues were so low and nobody expected for them to be as low as they were. Ticket sales, 209,000, guys. 209,000 in ticket sales. That, if you want to quantify what was done in marketing, I mean, wow. The For every marketing dollar, you should be getting anywhere from $1 to $2 back in sales. That much of a boost. Now, this is nowhere near that. So you have ticket sales 209,000. You have beer sales at 63,000. You have non-alcoholic drinks at 3,000. What does that tell you? Eagle Pass has a drinking problem, guys. When you have your beer sales at 63,000 and non-alcoholic drink sales at 3,000, Eagle Pass has a drinking problem. All right, moving on. Merchandise was only $2,000, and sponsorship. I don't know who sponsored them, but they had 35,000. So again, in the red, $2.35 million in funds. Let's see. Guillermo Morales, the city is not in the position to waste all amount. Missing, it's an outrage. The citizens have to pay their outstanding expenses. That's crazy. And what happens with the eclipse? Nothing. in the world. Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised. I thought that they were going to use the doomsday excuse. As the Biden administration likes to do. I thought it was going to be the next COVID, this eclipse, but it's a good thing it wasn't, right? But yeah, it's a difficult pill to swallow, guys. 2.35 million in a loss. Again, I would like to see the benefit cost analysis on that and see exactly what the community gain, how much small businesses made. Out of our viewers out there, there's got to be a couple of small businesses. Can you comment? Did you guys see any increase with the festival? Did you guys benefit from the city hosting this event here locally? Were you able to see an increase in sales at your restaurant, at your small business, at your hotel, maybe possibly? Let us know in the comments. We'd appreciate it. Um, that way we can try to figure out to see if again um, the juice was worth the squeeze on this project. I know that again the difficult juncture, the difficult fork on the road was when it was brought up in city council at the city council meeting if the city council members should cancel this this event. And we have word from inside source that's going to remain anonymous that the city could have saved $1 million. About 50% of this loss could have been avoided had the city of Eagle Pass City Council voted to cancel this event. Again, ultimately, it was a 3-2 vote, and it was voted to move forward with the event. Ultimately, ending in resulting in this loss of 2.35 million. So, guys, I think the next step here is one, waiting and making sure the city goes through with the hiring of a third party company to conduct a forensic audit on the procurement process that was conducted by the city of Eagle Pass. Number two, is that we would like to know who was a member of the committee, the 57 South Music Festival committee, and what decisions were taken by this committee. Was this committee just involved in hiring the promotional company? Was this committee involved in purchasing in any capacity? Was this committee involved in decision making? Did this committee ever circumvent the process of asking or going to city council for approval? Those are the questions that we want to know. Uh, just so you guys know, the way it was voted on was I believe it was 3-2, and it was the councilwoman and councilman Mario Garcia and councilwoman Monica Cruz. They were the two votes that wanted to cancel this event with, I believe, Mayor Salinas, Elias Diaz, and Councilman Davis voting in favor of moving forward with the concert or the festival. So that's a difficult thing because again, you had a 3-2 vote. It was brought up. Two voted to cancel this, and again, there could have been an avoidance up to a 50% of the funds that were spent on this festival could have been avoided had it been canceled. Two of the city councilmen voted towards canceling it again: Mario Garcia, councilman, and councilwoman Monica Cruz. Comment coming in: city funds should not be used on pleasure. The citizens could have been helped in real necessary needs. I understand that. It's not. I don't think the word would be pleasure. I think it's more entertainment, and it's not out of the ordinary for a city or a county to invest in entertainment for their city. Now, again, in no way does the city want to make money or the county want to make money. They're not in it for a profit, but they should be in it to offset any expenses responsibly. That for sure. Um, any other finishing comments, guys? Please send them through. Again, $2.35 million was lost in the campaign for 57 South Music Festival. It's a difficult pill to swallow, having the situation where a lot of people are upset, and just judging by the comments, uh, people are being affected by the situation. Again, we don't want to over exaggerate the situation, guys. Your property taxes are not going to go up anytime soon, anything like that. But I will recommend you stay vigilant and make sure the city of Eagle Pass does go through with this, which it was already approved through council to go through with the forensic audit, and that is gonna reveal the result. And the forensic audit will reveal the situation and what decisions were made, who made the decisions, and if there was anything done, anything fishy done, anything illegal, anything that was done to circumvent policies and laws that are in place. Let's see, good one coming in here. I remember back in 1994, there was a spending at the county lake, a total of 150,000 for the fireworks event. Nothing compared to this outrage. I remember the people of Eagle Pass were complaining. We had this, but today it's ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, they put on an event. The county also had the county also had an amphitheater that ended up swelling to over $4 million. So it's good that the community participates in these types of things, discussions, healthy discussions, to not only educate ourselves of how the process is, because it is important to know what the process is. If you don't know what the process is, how can you know something is being done incorrectly? One. Two, um, there has to be a healthy discussion between the community and the public entities. There's always has to be accountability. The city keeps us accountable with our tax dollars. The city keeps us accountable with our yards. They got to be cut a certain way. The city keeps us accountable if we take out our trash, out outside of a day that we're supposed to. And there's nothing wrong with the community holding the city or county accountable as well. And that is exactly what each individual should be doing. Yeah, I mean, that's what you get into. And, I'm going to reserve what my personal opinion about the situation is until I see the facts. 'Cause I think that that's important to see how the process laid out. We have not seen that yet. Right now, we have seen the losses, um, and we have seen a unexpected, abrupt firing that just put these losses into perspective. So the situation is, what caused that firing, and did this loss or this potential loss have anything to do with that, or had it something to do with the procurement process that may not have been followed during the process of hiring this promotional company. Again, just one just one management was the company. You had several other promoters mentioning that they submitted proposals to be considered as a promoter for this event as well, but we don't know what that situation, if they submitted it on time, if they were disqualified. We do not know those answers right now at the moment, and that's what we seek to discover. And hopefully, through this audit that the city council and mayor have approved a couple of meetings ago, it's going to shed a lot of light into the situation that happened, guys. So we know one thing for sure about this committee, that Jesse Rodriguez, the finance director, former finance director, he was a part of this committee. We are digging to see who else is a part of this committee. Again, we have word that they were several directors in this committee. So we are looking into who was a part of this committee and what actions and what power did this committee actually exercise during the process, the planning process of this. Okay, here you go, guys. It says here they should have hired Tony Rodriguez El Guapo Promotions. He has all the connections in Austin. Now, see, that was one of the individuals that actually attended a city council meeting and let everybody know there that he submitted a proposal to be considered by this committee, that ultimately he says he was not considered by the committee. So that's where this controversy comes from. And then again, you have the abrupt firing from the finance director, and we have all these dots. We're just figuring out how and what way they should be connected. That's going to end it for today, guys. Again, right before we end this, we're going to ask you guys to like, if you haven't already, heart, share this live stream so your friends can see it, so other people can see it and know what the situation is with the city of Eagle Pass. We are going to take this Viva Canine Dog Training, Grooming, and Boarding Center. You can call Viva K9 and be a part of their wonderful services. Give them a call at 830-335-2111. They're waiting for your call, guys. Take your pup there for a real treat. Over and out. All right, guys. So that's all we have for you today. Stick with us. I believe on hopefully sometime over this weekend we will have Monica Cruz, or we will be speaking with her, and we'll have something to present for you guys from her perspective. And we also will be having an upcoming podcast, we believe this Monday, with Mr. Montemayor, Maverick County tax assessor collector candidate that is running against the incumbent Asalia Cáceres. Guys, that's going to be a hot and fiery podcast. You're not going to want to miss it. Monday night, we had a quick reschedule. There's going to be an announcement coming from Mr. Montemayor, and we're going to have some fireworks on that podcast. So be sure to tune in, guys. Thank you for joining us here in the Maverick Times podcast. I'm Isaac Reese. We're out for the night. Be sure to share this podcast with all your friends. Appreciate it. Y'all have a nice night.